Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining and supporting this workshop and taking interest in this workshop, learning. We want all of you to be peace workers, peace agents, who, after this workshop, not just after this workshop, but learn more and more on how to resolve conflicts and actually resolve conflicts in your life, in your social life, and in the country. So yesterday we did some very basics of what is a conflict, how do we define a conflict. Uh, we did a little bit about violence, what is violence, uh, and the broader attitude that violence is not only physical injury, but attitudes and structures that harm, that cause damage to environment, or that cause social damage or physical damage, or mental damage, and prevent human beings or a group from reaching their full human potential. Today we'll see how to deal with conflicts. What are the different ways in which we can deal with conflicts? So that is our today's session. Yeah. So first let us look at four types of conflict. Depending on different goals and different behaviors, we can classify conflicts into four types. When our goals are compatible and when behavior of everyone is compatible, that is a situation of no conflict. Yesterday somebody asked me, will there be, Sabia More asked me, will there be a situation when we'll get rid of all conflicts, and when will we get rid of all the conflicts in the society? Hello, am I audible or am I
Yeah,
out?
yeah, you're audible.
Uh, I don't know. Okay, somehow I have gone out of. Just a minute, huh? I got signed out.
You're still here with us, no issue.
I'm still there. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right, all right. So maybe I'll focus more on, yeah. So, but there could be areas where there might be no conflict spaces when goals are compatible and behavior is compatible. Let me take an example of an ideal family where behavior of everybody is compatible, in the sense that there's no conflict about roles. uh, Everybody is what he or she wants to be, whatever wants to achieve from the family. uh, he or she feels free and everybody supports. So the behavior is compatible. There are no gender roles. Everybody, whatever that person wants to be, is allowed to be. People share work. So the behavior is compatible and there are no conflicts in goals. Such a family can be a situation of no conflict. I don't know whether there is any such family or not, but let's assume there is a family. Or say a political party, a organization. Everybody's, everybody shares the goal of that organization, the political objectives of that organization. Say a human rights organization. Everybody in the office, or all those who are members of that organization, are they share the goals of that organization, and they all are working hard to achieve those goals, and everybody's behavior is compatible. Nobody is competing with anybody else. Nobody is trying to dominate uh, others. There's nobody who is trying to boss over others. or be an obstruction. There's nobody who's ambitious, so on and so forth. So behavior is compatible. Such an organization or organizational space would be a space of no conflict. Let us take another example of surface conflict. When your behavior is incompatible, but goals are, there is no conflict in goals. That is a situation of surface conflict, which appears to be conflict, but actually it is not. Say, for example, a group of friends or a family where everybody's goals are same. Everybody wants development or happiness in the family. Okay, the goals are same, but the behavior is incompatible. There are gender roles, gender-based roles, or one sibling tries to dominate over the other, or the head of the family, the perhaps father, the head of the family dictates or has some authoritarian traits within that person. So behavior might be incompatible, but the goals are compatible. You can call these kind of conflicts as surface conflicts, or an NGO office where everybody wants to achieve the same goals and working towards the same objectives of the organization, but there is a boss. The boss behaves like a boss, does not trust everybody, and there is no teamwork. So there will be surface conflict. ऊपर ऊपर का conflict है. अगर हिंदी में कहें तो ऊपर ऊपर का कलह, which does not have roots, and with correction in behavior, those conflicts can be resolved. The third kind of conflict is latent conflict, where actually the goals are in conflict, but the behavior isn't. Let me take an example of a village where everybody is divided along caste lines. There is caste structure in the village. Everybody behaves as they should. Everybody behaves as they should. The Dalits play their role, upper castes play their role, other castes play their role. So there is no conflict in behavior. Everybody is complying to whatever they are expected of. But then goals, there is conflict in goals, because each one cannot achieve their full human potential. So there is violence, there is latent violence. All right, Dalits aspire to live a dignified life, but they are not allowed to. But they behave as they are expected to. So if somebody comes from outside, we'll see that there's peace in the village. There's no conflict. Nobody is raising any demands that are contrary to each other, or they are not behaving in an incompatible manner. But there is conflict in goals. It is called latent conflict. Say a factory where minimum wages are not paid. Workers give the production. There's peace in the factory. But there is conflict, because there is conflict of goals. Workers want their fair share in the salary, and the owner of the factory wants to maximize profit by keeping the wages low. So there is conflict in goals, but there is compatibility in behavior. So from outside, it will appear to an outsider as if there is no conflict, but there is latent conflict. All right. And the fourth type of conflict is open conflict, where the goals are also in conflict and the behavior also is in conflict. Often, peace workers make latent conflict open so that behavior also becomes incompatible if goals are incompatible. If you make latent conflict open, that conflict can be addressed. For example, this factory where there is apparent peace, or you say peace of a graveyard, there is apparent peace. But what will a trade unionist do? Trade unionists will organize the workers to ask for to demand their fair share in the wages. So please give us minimum wages. They'll make the workers conscious, and they'll make the workers organized and agitate for their fair share of wages, which then opens up the conflict. So now the behavior also will become incompatible. Or feminist organizations make women aware of their rights so that their behavior also becomes incompatible to begin with, but then the conflict can be addressed and peace restored with justice. All right. So latent conflict situation is graveyard peace. An open conflict situation is where the conflict is visible to anyone and to everyone, and people try to address that conflict. Peace workers try to address that conflict and bring about real peace, peace with justice. Okay, so that's called resolution of the conflict. So on the basis of compatibility of behavior and compatibility of goals, we can divide the conflict into four situations, four type of conflict: no conflict, surface conflict, latent conflict, and open conflict. When the conflict is open, you can address. You can also address surface conflict by bringing about compatibility in goals. Okay, so yeah. Now, what are the root causes of conflict? What are the grounds on which major conflicts in the world take place? Broadly, there are four grounds on which conflict takes place, and I'll try and give some examples for all. One major ground of conflict is determining territories and boundaries. I'll go fast with the example. This is easy to understand and therefore don't require many examples. At present, Indo-China conflict is a conflict of boundary, or Indo-Pakistan conflict of boundary and territory. Does Kashmir belong to Pakistan, or does Kashmir belong to India? There is a conflict between these two countries. Gilgit, Baltistan, the northern areas, etc., etc. So there is a conflict of boundaries, and territories and boundaries are one ground on which conflicts take place. Even within the country, the Maharashtra-Karnataka border issue, or border between two farmlands is another example of a conflict whose root cause or whose major ground is territory. The second root cause can be conflict over natural resources, land and water. Whom does land belong to, or what should be the land use? Should it be forest, or should be a mining? Should the land be used for mining area or for some industrial project? There's dispute between water. The water dispute between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, water dispute between Haryana and Punjab, or dispute between how the water should be used. By constructing a large dam, it should be used for industrial purpose, or for farm purpose, by constructing smaller dams, harnessing uh, water for agricultural purpose or for drinking water purpose, etc. So a use of land, that can be conflict, use of water, that can be conflict, use of natural resources, that can be conflict. Uh, whether should you dig mines here or should you let the forest be? So over all natural resources. The third ground for conflict is when one social group tries to become or tries to dominate over other social groups. Hegemony, to establish their hegemony. Uh, Example, very we have ample examples for this. Patriarchy is one such ground which gives rise to conflict, where men try to dominate over women using traditions, using customs, using patriarchal ideologies, using religion, and what all. Caste is one such uh, where one caste tries to become dominant over others. The third ground can be one region trying to, people of one region trying to become dominant over others. People of one nation trying to become dominant over people of another sub-nation or another nation within the same country. Or the Black Lives Matter, where blacks are trying to resist the dominance of white race or hegemony of the whites in America. So on and so forth. Or majorities in a country trying to dominate over the other social groups. Or in South Africa, once upon a time, uh, decades ago, a few decades ago, not many decades ago, uh, the white race, which was in minority, tried to rule and dominate over all the blacks and monopolize power. The fourth ground of major conflicts, behind major conflict, is hierarchically structured societies, where society and power is structured hierarchically. For example, caste society is a hierarchical structured society. When such hierarchies exist, hierarchical societies exist, there's bound to be conflict, incessant conflict. Feudal structures or feudal societies are hierarchical societies. All right. Uh, the recent legislation against the Citizenship Amendment Act is an attempt to create that hierarchical structure, excluding one community from citizenship, that is Muslims from citizenship, and giving automatic citizenship to migrants from three countries, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, from 6 religions. This excludes, it's a hierarchical structure, and it will create conflict. It is creating conflict, and we are seeing conflict around. So these are the 4 major grounds on which conflicts take place. You can exercise, look at conflicts around you, and check whether all conflicts fall within these 4 grounds, or is there any conflict which doesn't fall in any of these 4 grounds, and there is a 5th ground of conflict. Okay. Now, yeah. There are, if you suppress a conflict, say a latent conflict, often you suppress a latent conflict, and therefore the conflict appears as latent. What happens? It in fact escalates. it escalates. At some time or the other, it will erupt. So the best thing to do is do not suppress a conflict. When do you suppress a conflict? When you say, when you stop dialogues between people. I don't want to listen to you. I don't want to listen to your grievances or your problems. Not listening means not addressing them. Listening is trying to understand the position of the other. All right. So that is suppressing a conflict. Often it happens that you don't want to listen to dissent. It's happening much more in our present times, that there are voices of dissent and you don't want to listen, or you suppress opposition. Dictators often suppress conflicts or suppress dissent, stop all dialogues, and they believe by ruling with strong authorities. When that happens, what you are doing is suppressing conflicts, and you cause a bigger problem for future. And also prevent, when you listen to dissenting voices, as we saw yesterday, that creative conflicts often lead to development and betterment of the society. So you miss that opportunity of development of the organization, of the situation, or of the country, or whatever. Often bosses suppress dissent and say, I don't want to listen to my employees. I just want you to follow my orders. When you stop listening to your employees and expect them to follow the orders, then you suppress conflict, and you actually create much worse situation for your future. Examples of suppressing conflict: the mob lynchings that are happening in the Indian society today. You just go and beat that person up. You surround a mob of 1,000 or 500 or 100 or even 5 and 10. They are armed and they gang up to beat an unarmed person. And they just go on beating. That person wants to give defense for whatever he's being beaten for, say for carrying, slaughtering a cow, or carrying beef to the market. That person says, I am not carrying beef, or I have not slaughtered a cow, etc., etc. Attack on prayer meetings, Christian prayer meetings, accusing them to be converting. You just go and attack them. And no matter how much you try to explain to them that, look, we were not converting anyone. We are not forcing our religion on anyone. This is just a prayer meeting. But they won't listen and they will attack such. So by attacking, these are examples of suppressing conflict. That how you deal with conflict. One way is suppressing the conflict. Instabilities in the society. Frequent change in government leads to instability, and instability results from suppression of a conflict. Examples of instability where conflicts are suppressed: Syria, Yemen, or a dictatorial rule elsewhere. There can be many examples of such. Now there are two ways of dealing with conflict, two different ways of dealing with conflict. One is intensifying conflict, and other is escalating conflict. These are two different ways of dealing conflict. These terms carry two different meanings. Intensifying conflict means a latent conflict, when you encourage it to be open conflict, then that's intensification of conflict. At times, peace workers intensify conflict by bringing awareness amongst women, Dalits, workers, marginalized sections of the society, minorities, for their human rights. What you do is you intensify conflict. you make a hidden conflict open so that it can be resolved. That process is called intensifying conflict. And the other thing that you do with conflict is escalating conflict. When levels of violence and tensions are increasing, you are actually escalating conflict. Uh, for example, the Ram Janmabhoomi temple issue and Babri Masjid temple issue. Progressively, the levels and tensions over that conflict uh, were increasing. The violence was increasing. We saw some litigation in late 19th century. In mid 20th century, we saw idols of Lord Ram being smuggled into the masjid. That was escalation of the conflict. Again, litigation following that. The gates of Ram Lalla are opened in 1986 by when Rajiv Gandhi Congress government is in power, and the idols are left open for darshan. Now that is escalation of conflict. The levels of violence are increasing. Then we see more and more violence, mobilization in 1990. Car sevaks gather there. Uh, they are trying to demolish the mosque. In 1992, the mosque is actually demolished. In 1990, they could not demolish the mosque because the police intervened, used force to disperse the mob. So levels of violence were escalating. And then finally, we see Supreme Court giving its judgment and Bhumi Pujan being done. Some will say conflict is resolved. Others will say this is not resolution of the conflict. There are two opinions about it. So, but that is, there are every riot has an early warning. Every communal riot has an early warning. When it is not dealt at early warning time, then the levels of violence are escalating. I'm trying to go a little bit fast. Now, there are several ways to address conflict. Basically, 5 ways how you can address conflict. The first, of course, is conflict prevention. Uh, examples of situations of conflict prevention. Muharram procession has to be taken out, or say Durga procession has to be taken out. A religious procession has to be taken out. You prevent a conflict. The procession passes through an area which is inhabited by another community. There's likely to be a conflict there. So before Muharram procession or before that religious procession starts, police calls people of different communities in the police station and tries to bring about an agreement. Or Mohalla committees intervene, or peace committees intervene and bring about an agreement between the conflicting the potential conflicting parties. So what you do is prevent the conflict. Or when say if I take a domestic situation, if the son is going to get married, there is potentially a situation of conflict that might happen between the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. You prevent the conflict by separating the inhabitants, their residences, so that they buy a new residence, etc., etc. Or a factory owner can prevent a conflict by giving Diwali bonus in time and sharing his profits with workers. A conflict is prevented. Fair wages to the workers, or giving wage hike in time if his profit increases. So these are situations of conflict prevention. The other way of addressing a conflict is conflict after the conflict occurs. You try and settle the conflict. How do you settle the conflict? By making an agreement, say a land settlement, or courts, you are litigating in court, the two parties decide to settle between themselves without intervention of the court. So this is called settlement of conflict. The third way of dealing with a conflict is conflict management, a role that police does. What do you do in conflict management? The police, you keep the levels of violence down when tempers are high. Tempers are very high, conflict has taken place, people have mobilized on streets. You induce behavioral change in such a way that people don't act violently. For example, police will immediately impose 144 or impose a curfew, disperse the mobs, don't allow them to come face to face. This is conflict management. The police induces behavioral change in the crowd so that the levels of violence are kept down. Another way of addressing conflict is conflict resolution. When all the issues involved in the conflict are finally resolved, which leads to a lasting improvement of relation between the conflicting parties and the hostilities is done away with, then it is called conflict resolution. Can I give an example of border dispute between India and Bangladesh? India and Bangladesh entered into and resolved the territories which was disputed, the territorial islands. India had certain territory within Bangladesh, and Bangladesh had certain territories within India. They decided to exchange the territories. That was conflict resolution. Now India and Bangladesh now has a lasting good relationship between the two countries. Okay, so that is called conflict resolution, a long-term resolution of the conflict. The other way of dealing conflict is conflict transformation. What do you do in conflict transformation? The negative energies of the conflict between two conflicting groups is harnessed to bring about a positive social change. For example, there's a dispute in Mumbai, or there was a dispute in Mumbai, or there is a dispute in Mumbai between Maharashtrian youth and non-Maharashtrian youth. The Maharashtrian youth are saying that all jobs or a significant portion of the job should be reserved for people of Maharashtra. And all those who have come from outside Maharashtra should be sent back to their respective states, or they should not be given any privileges or domicile in the state. Now, conflict transformation looks at a situation where Maharashtrian youth need jobs and non-Maharashtrian youth need jobs. And they need these jobs to fulfill their life needs. So what they'll do, they'll harness the negative energy of two social groups fighting with each other to bring about a positive social transformation, to fight for policies that will create jobs, to pressurize the government to create more jobs so that Maharashtrian youth as well as non-Maharashtrian youth get jobs, so on and so forth. So that is, say in Assam, if the Bengali migrants and the Assamese youth had come together and worked for development of Assam to create more jobs in Assam, then that situation we could have called conflict transformation. Often that happens. Many organizations work to harness this negative energy of conflict to bring about a positive change in government. Resolution of the conflict, to transfer the conflict to bring about positive social change. Now there are 5 ways of addressing conflict. I'll go a little fast, and forgive me for going little fast. Uh, we'll give lesser examples. Inaction, do nothing, just sit tight. Sometimes time is a healer. Conflict dies with time at times. Inaction is one strategy in dealing with conflict of some party. Withdrawing. A party to a conflict may withdraw. We don't want to prosecute this conflict. We accept. More or less what Muslims have done in the Ram Janmabhoomi temple. They have withdrawn. So the conflict appears to be over. I don't know whether the conflict is over and there will be, or this is suppression of conflict, or the conflict is over. I'm not very sure, because history is very long, time is very long. What will happen in future, I don't know. I hope the conflict is over. Withdrawing from the conflict is one way of addressing the conflict. Contention, where you prosecute the conflict. Two parties continue to engage with each other in conflict, with violence or peacefully, in fair manner or unfair manner, but they keep contending. Yielding, one party gives in, all right, you win. It tells to the other party, you win. They yield. And the final way of dealing with addressing the conflict is to solve the problem, resolve the conflict, as we saw in earlier slides. Now, Mary Parker Foley suggests 3 ways of dealing with conflict. Either domination that results in that brings about results. Either one party dominates. So through domination, you bring about an end to a conflict. One can say that's what has happened in Ram Janmabhoomi temple conflict. Or one can give many examples. Yielding, when one party yields, domination of another prevails, and victory of one side. The Allied forces, for example, in the World War, they dominated, and that brought an end to the conflict. Compromise. Both sides yield a little bit, given some of their demands, and bring about a compromise solution. The third way is integration. When neither party has to sacrifice, and both parties actually create a win-win situation. They transform the situation in such a way, or resolve that conflict in such a way, that both parties have a feeling of victory and winning. That is integration of the conflict. Now, how do you address conflict? According to Johan Galtung, you do 3 things. You do one of the 3 things. Correct the steep self and other relationship. There's a conflict because there's a steep polarization around self and other. You have prejudices against the other. Okay, so you have to correct that. So educational process, when we address stereotypes against Muslims or Sikhs or Jains or any other social group, when you educate people about the stereotypes against the other community, what you are doing is correcting that steep self and other relationship. When you do that, you are addressing the conflict. You are creating a situation where the conflict is addressed. The other way of dealing with conflict or addressing a conflict is to correct behavior, to improve the relationship between self and the other. How do you do this? We talk about syncretic culture. All right, to improve this relationship, then we are all Indians, a common loyalty, a common history, common symbols, common that commonness, identification of that shared culture, shared commonness, corrects the steep self and the other relationship. And that's how you address the conflict. And the third way of addressing the conflict is removal of incompatibility of goals. That you shift goals in such a manner, you redefine your goals in such a manner that they no more appear to be incompatible. I'm sorry, I'm going a little bit fast. We do this workshop for 2 days. That is almost about 16 hours. We are trying to cover that ground in 6 hours or so, and therefore I have to hurry up. Actually, we should be discussing many examples of this, exercising over this. Please do these exercises, and I'll be always happy to help you with those exercises if you are doing this at home. The other way of resolution of conflict is transcending the conflict, or what we saw in the previous slide, transformation of the conflict. You transcend your identities, you overcome your limitations, the policy limitation, the structures in the society that give rise to conflict, you transcend them. All right. Compromise is another way of dealing. Deepening conflict. You pile on problems. You pile on more and more problems. You bring in more problems into the conflict. And when you do that, you actually deepen conflict. You broaden conflict by bringing in more parties into the conflict. And let me give some examples of this. Deepening and broadening conflict. Say, when there is conflict about triple talaq, you problematize entire Muslim personal law. What you are doing is deepening conflict. You pile on other issues along with that. We want resolution of this issue as well, not just triple talaq, etc., etc. So that will be deepening conflict. Broadening conflict, say you bring in other sections of the society into the conflict. You draw them as well into the conflict, and you broaden the conflict that way. Or you withdraw from the conflict as we saw in the other. Yeah. Now, this not going. Okay. That's it. I end it here. These are the ways you address the conflict. If there are any questions, if there are any examples that anybody wants to share, if there are any comments, then I'll be happy.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Those who wishes to speak directly can, of course, raise their hand. Otherwise, they can text their questions in the chat box. Thank you.
I'll stop sharing this screen.
Yeah, I think you can.
And, see each other.
Okay, there is this Prabha Pandey. I will unmute her.
Yes, Prabhaji, please. If you are unmuted, please go ahead.
Yeah, so can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
So what about justice? What about justice? When we talk about, there is some background conversation happening. Finally, the only resolution to conflict should be justice, no, sir?
Yeah. One line answer. The session on justice is going to come a little later. We have 4 more days to go.
Okay.
There'll be one full session on justice, peace building, what is equality, what is egalitarian. We'll visit these things. And absolutely right. I was addressing today a limited issue, how to deal with conflict. There are different ways of dealing with the conflict. Yesterday we defined what conflicts are, or how to look at conflicts. Today we saw what are the grounds on which conflicts take place and what are the different ways to deal with conflict. Of course, when you resolve, then there has to be justice. And
There has to be justice, yes. So one more question. So
Yeah.
one more question.
Yeah.
If we assume, or I am quite sure that the Babri Masjid Ram Mandir issue has not been resolved. Okay. Now, supposing we take that as a fact, then what is the way to resolve it? Supposing we take it as a latent conflict,
Ah,
then the processes that you have mentioned,
yes.
will they help us to resolve? I don't see it happening,
Yes.
sir.
Let me give one or two examples how the conflict could have been transformed. Uh,
Huh.
uh, Resolution would be both parties coming to an agreement and settling all their disputes and saying, all right, you you get this much portion of land, we get this much portion of land, there will be a temple. There is a satisfactory outcome. All parties are satisfied and lasting relationship. Conflict transformation would say neither mandir nor masjid, let there be a hospital. We need health services, or let there be a museum,
Museum.
or let there be an all religion prayer structure.
Yeah.
Something where everybody can come and then that would be transformation of conflict. So
Mhm.
that has yet to take place, or I don't know whether that will not take place, and this is the final stage where one party has yielded and one party has withdrawn and other party has prevailed.
Yes.
But that is also one way of addressing the conflict, as we saw.
True,
So
but then has justice been done?
depends on who from here actually Prabhaji, I'm not I don't want to sit in judgment in this session.
Okay.
My
Okay,
private
fine.
opinion at some other time in some other webinar I can give. What I want to what I'm trying to do here is give a framework in which to understand. I want you people to reach your own conclusions rather than giving my solution
Fine.
and my opinions. I can
Fair
give
enough.
my opinion. I can give my opinion, but
Mhm.
what are the ways in which you could look at this conflict? Uh,
Okay.
you could have your own opinion whether this conflict is resolved. And I'm not shy of speaking on Ram Janmabhoomi Temple or Babri Masjid. I very openly speak about all this and publicly speak about all this. But here I
Mhm.
don't want to. Today I don't want to
Understand.
in this session because we are
Okay, sir.
framework.
Okay, sir. Understood.
Any other questions? Anybody else?
Yes, there was Mushtaq. Mushtaq, you can go ahead and ask the question.
No, no, it is a mistake to raise the hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, there's this another Mushtaq Sikandar.
Yeah. Good evening, Dr. Engineer. It was as usual a very enlightening session. Just to add, and I have a question, uh, not related to politics and these conflict resolution models, but when it comes to our personal lives, we witness that since our childhood, we witness different kinds of tendencies. There are different kinds of issues and problems that we need to resolve, but our family structure and our education system doesn't empower us to deal with this kind of issues, or we are not empowered enough to deal with different kind of, whether they are emotional issues, whether they are issues of otherness, or whether they are issues related to our neighbors or to our friends who are belong to different faiths. So, can there be a mechanism related to this conflict resolution kind of thing on individual basis, in which the curriculum can be framed in such a sense? Because we still witness that conflict resolution as a mechanism is taught in master's level. So, our curriculum certainly is not well equipped, or these conflict resolution kind of mechanisms on our in our individual lives, as well as the greater questions that are related to conflict, they are not taught. So what are your suggestions related to it?
No, I entirely agree, Mr. Bhai. with you. I completely agree. In fact, in America, I saw a school where there is bullying at school level. There is a monitor, or I forget the designation that that person has. Actually, one of the student of the class resolves those conflicts, and they learn at very early stage. All right. But from what we have talked today, we have to improve our behavior, make it more compatible with our friends and surroundings and people we are dealing with. That's one. We can reconfigure our goals that will lead to addressing the conflict, correct self and the other images, correct self and the other relations. These are the ways, and then what we saw: yielding, withdrawing, compromising, or dominating. These are the or transforming the conflict. These are the various ways of addressing conflict. Yes, we should have more of these kind of educational sessions where we help people, we equip people how they could, how should they deal with the conflicts in their life. Believe me, after I started, I've learned by myself, uh, didn't attend any course or any university or college, but after reading others on conflict resolution, after I learned to use these tools and this framework of analysis, it has helped me quite a lot. My people working in my office will disagree with me, and they'll say, "No, no, there's conflict all over in the."
Okay, the next question is from Milan Wani. Yeah, Milan, you can go ahead and ask question.
So thank you, Irfanji. This has been a really enlightening introduction. Can you hear me? Am I clear?
Yes, yes, yes.
So my question is related to what's been happening in generally in personal spaces since the emergence of the right in a position of power within the country since 2014. And personal spaces because I have had these experiences in, and many people have experienced this either in their families or of friend circles. Suddenly there has been this us against them, the bucks and the non-bucks kind of emergence of these conflicts, and to the extent that family relations have been spoiled forever. For some, friendships have broken. I have lost a few friends. Now here is a question: how does one because in a certain sense one is at a receiving end. One is fighting a sort of, one gets a sense that one is fighting a battle which is not a battle of ideas or reasons, but a battle of opinions. And there is little one can do. And in a certain sense, one feels that although one values these relationships for the sheer fact that they have been either in some cases been there for a long time, as long as you've lived, or at other times we have had experiences of good friendships. And now suddenly you seem to be the person who uh, cannot or are unable to create bridges of understanding while allowing for disagreements. Whereas our liberal values always tell us, and here is a question of values, because our values talk about syncretism, of building bridges, of tolerating the other, or acknowledging or assimilating ourselves with other people, integrating, whereas the right wing is not really interested in these values. They are continuously arguing on the basis of right versus, either you're for us or you're against us, and you become a anti-national by saying that demonetization was a stupid initiative, or and so on and so forth. So you know what I'm talking about. How does one deal with these issues?
Again, I'll say very, very briefly for lack of time, very interesting. First, I'll say I don't have any final solution how to deal with it. But the way I am dealing with, we run a Facebook group called All India Secular Forum, and there are lots of bucks there, and this is how I deal with them. One, you have to deal with them as a reasonable person, not hate them, understand them. Understand why they are in why they think what they are thinking. You know, that they are insecure somewhere. They are also victims somewhere. If you think that you are right all the time and they are wrong, and you have a condescending attitude towards them, then, you know, the correction of the self and the other image, dichotomy. If you address that, and if you have empathy for them, then that doesn't mean you agree and believe what they are believing in. That means establish a dialogue. That's one way of dealing. Look at one of the 4 grounds in which why this there is a social conflict. All right. Now one of the 4 grounds that we saw, territory. No, it's not territorial dispute. Dispute over natural resources, land and water. No, it is not that. The third point comes in, one social group trying to dominate the other. Now, actually, who will end up dominating is not these bucks. These bucks are foot soldiers, or me too. We have to create this awareness that the ultimate goal is domination. Domination creates permanent conflicts. You have to address that, etc., etc. You know, there are ways of understanding and addressing. I'm sure it will be addressed in the long run. Frankly, I say I don't have Ramban Upai. As we say, I don't have the final solution, but I'm able to deal with and make friends with these people through love and empathy, and have a dialogue without ever agreeing with them, where I don't have to agree with them. You know, when I don't have to agree with them, but slowly we start seeing मुझ में तू समाया है, तुझ में मैं समाया हूँ. You know, correcting the self and the other image. They have lots of prejudices. They have been fed with lots of misinformation. That has to be addressed. Again, I'm saying I don't have a solution, but some pointer on.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so this is last question. I think it's been partially addressed right now. The question is from Meghna. She says, with the Ram Mandir Bhumi Pujan done, how should Muslims see their future in India? Also, how to prevent a replication of this strategy in other mosques?
I would say I don't have any solution. I don't think this is a solution. I'm trying to give a framework in which to understand. I can't have solutions. We have to work towards solution with people. Actually, we will look at the tools of conflict analysis, how to analyze conflicts. We will see in subsequent sessions. And I think some of these tools might help. So again, I don't have any solution. That's all I would say. And even if I had, I don't think it would help. Even if it helped, I don't want to talk about it today. We are talking about framework to understand. Christy, a quick question that you have. Unmute Ambrose Christy. A quick
Yeah,
one.
just a minute. Yeah.
Christy, we can hear you.
I just wanted to share a thought. When you were saying that there are 4 grounds on which conflicts happen, I think within that you can also try to distinguish between the need, the interest, and the position.
Yes.
Whereas when you are looking for solutions, it is more important if we can bring the negotiation to what is the need, which is easy to arrive at a solution. But if people take up a position, which is very difficult for us to bring them to a meeting point.
Absolutely agree. In fact, one of it's called the onion tool to resolve this conflict. Onion tool. You peel layers and layers.
Exactly.
And, it will come. It will come in subsequent sessions.
Thank you.